Now go.
Okay, go. Go.
Hello, my name is Caleb Corville. This is FTH 202 Revolvers. The final assignment for FTH 202. Let's get started. When inspecting the overall health of a revolver, there are a few points of particular interest. And starting from the surface, the first thing I would look at is the crane, just to see if there's a lot of wobble in the crane. If there is, and or if it's off balance or bent, or anything inside of there is sheared, any of the components, you could end up with a misaligned cylinder. Just as a demonstration, I'm not actually going to do it, but whenever you force close the cylinder like that, like in Hollywood, slam it shut, you run the risk of bending and or messing up this whole yoke, crane, cylinder, ejection rod, that whole assembly. Otherwise, you could have an exploding revolver at the range, and that's not ideal for anyone, yourself or people standing next to you. Another major thing that I'd look at would be the cylinder stop. I'd want to make sure that this is still locking up every single time I pull back on that hammer to engage the hand onto the ratchet pad. That ratchet pad right there. Every single time the hand engages that, rotates it, and the cylinder stop does its job and stops that cylinder from rotating any further. The other thing you can inspect real quick is end shake. You can make sure that cylinder doesn't like to slide back and forth so much, and or with a pair of feeler gauges rather, you can stick them into that cylinder gap right there to see where you are, and you want to be for optimal performance, you want to be between 3 and 4 thousandths, but you have a threshold for function upwards of I want to say 5 thousandths, 5 or 6 thousandths. Another thing you want to pay attention to or make sure of is your revolver cycling properly, right? Through double action. Let's go through 3 cylinders. Alright, good cycle. Alright, it's doing its job. Okay. The other thing that you might want to take notice of is your firing pin actually protruding, right? In this case, yes. On the surface, that's basically it. The next thing you do is take this apart, look on the inside, and you inspect the sear surfaces and make sure that, for one, there's no rust on the inside from worn finish areas. You can make sure that there's no extreme carbon buildup or dirt buildup. Although this is a closed off system, it can still happen depending on the area that you live in. I mean, you can check your springs exterior, on the outside by doing the functions checks, making sure your hammer or your mainspring and your trigger return spring is functioning properly. You know, I mean, you can hear or feel your sear surfaces engaging very well from the outside without having to pull it apart to get a good look in there. But if you don't look in there, you don't know if there's any rust or anything that needs to be addressed or refinished or polished or whatever, what have you, that might cause issues in the future. And as a gunsmith, I can't just trust that the customer will, they'll eventually take it apart and find. No, it's up to me. It's up to me to return the firearm to the customer in as good or better working condition, depending on the circumstance. Ideally better, right? Okay. Now throughout the course, for this portion of the video, I've been asked to talk about what I've learned and articulate how what I've learned is going to help me in the future. 10 things to be exact. So, learned how to disassemble and reassemble a revolver. Learned how to functions check a revolver. Learned how to troubleshoot and or diagnose a revolver. Learned how to identify parts. Learned part articulation. We learned part history and or evolution, and learned cylinder gap stuff, you know, using feeler gauges and all that. Learned how to do the trigger job on the revolver. Learned that the trigger return strut is designed to break, basically, during the trigger job. And this wasn't part of the course, but it's something I learned during the course. I learned how to make a trigger return strut on a lathe, which will be very important in the future because I plan on getting a lathe. And as a gunsmith, you know, I hope to be able to remake certain parts and help out customers and or myself in case I make a mistake, you know. But I was even able to re-engineer said part slightly because I noticed the structural integrity of it. It's just thin. It's just tiny, you know. So what I did was I kept it a little wider. Excuse my hands. I'm machinist and I can scrub my hands for hours and they stay dirty. Anyway, that's how it's supposed to be. And mine, I think I kept it at about 2 to 3 thousandths wider or larger than that. Just to give it a little extra support. But yeah, all of these things that I learned in this course are going to be invaluable in the future. All right. Double action revolvers have a few unique features, or more than not unique anyway. One of them is most single action revolvers are gonna have a fixed cylinder, as in it doesn't swing out for reload. Of course, the obvious one is that double action revolvers have a double action sear. Double action revolvers are faster shooting, and you don't have to keep going after the hammer before every shot. And also, double action revolvers are safer. That is because it requires more effort to actuate a double action trigger. Thank you for watching. It's been fun. I'm looking forward to getting my getting my second firearm from Sonoran Desert Institute for the handgun course. I believe we're going to be going into striker fire after this. And this little guy here is going to get some more ammo, a new holster that I'll make out of Kydex, and it's going to go inside of a go bag.